I'm Grace Gitadelila. I arrived in Pondicherry when I was 9 months old. My parents were already devotees of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, especially my father, who really was very keen to join the ashram. But when he applied to join the ashram, my mother actually got pregnant. So they wrote to the ashram saying, "We are coming. Can we come with also a pregnancy?" And mother said, "There is no maternity clinic, so you come when it is born." So they disembarked from Europe with a cargo ship and were traveling on the ocean for 6 months before they actually arrived in Port Madras at that time. And then they landed in Pondicherry, and that's where I spent my first years of my life. And mother gave me actually the name Grace, and I received from both my parents the name Gitadelila. So with 9 months, I was on mother's lap in Pondicherry and received the name from her. And this, throughout my whole life, I have had two major women being my mothers. I have a spiritual mother and I have my guru mother. And they're both actually gurus because they're both my teachers. I learned from my spiritual mother, the mother, many workings on all levels of consciousness, and I also was student of my mother in her art therapy school that she calls the Kolam. She runs this school in Holland. So I studied with her, and so she was also my teacher. And she has been my first Kolam teacher. When we were residing in Pondicherry at a very young age, I used to also go to the kindergarten of the ashram school. And there I had my first encounter with the 4 great aspects of the mother, which were Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. And I was asked at the age of 4 to enact the aspect of Mahasaraswati. And I remember them practicing and rehearsing with me in Sanskrit the Saraswati slokas. So I was reciting this all in Sanskrit on the stage in kindergarten. But I had a very profound initiation with the material that they dressed me with, because they made a sari blouse and it had a transparent cloth weave with dots in it. So that was my first encounter with these dots. So in my entire life, I had a fascination for patterns and forms and shapes, and most probably also induced through the passion that my mother had for all of this. Because when she was in Pondicherry and later in Auroville, because when we arrived, Auroville was not yet birthed, as it were. It was born 6 months after I was born, and it wasn't inhabitable at that time when we arrived. So we lived in Pondicherry, and then later we moved to Auroville. I'm going to be taking you on a journey that is typical for Tamil Nadu, South India. And this is a time where many women are doing this journey every morning, early in the morning, when the light is still very white and we have just come out of the night darkness and the sun has not yet risen. So there's not yet the physical sun, but there is that white light that is penetrating and enveloping everything. And this is the twilight zone, which the women then come out into their courtyards, into their front yards, even on their balconies, to make something that they call Kolam. Now, I'm going to be showing you a little bit an insight on what is going on spiritually behind the scenes when we make this Kolam. The word Ko and Lam are very ancient Tamil Sanskrit related words, maybe even Dravidian. The word Ko is to be aspiring for something that is highest in your life, and it is an ascending energy, whilst the word Lam is the sound for Muladhara chakra, which is the lowest chakra point, chakra wheel in your physical body, and connects you to the earth body. So when you're doing a Kolam, you're basically doing an act of that what you aspire highest, you bring down through your physical body onto the earth. So I will be creating a Kolam, which is a magical diagram, which is almost like we could call it a visual language, a language made out of lines, forms and shapes. And it is laid down preferably on the earth, on the bhumi ground, earth ground, bhumi mother. And here we will be invoking first the goddess Maheshwari. And Maheshwari is a goddess in India, but you could also see her qualities as being universal forces of a divine mother. So her forces are of wideness, wisdom, all-seeing, all-perceiving, and she's filled with compassion. You could almost imagine her as being the horizontal energy of a horizon of the ocean, when you're standing in front of the ocean and you see this vastness. And we know that the ocean is everywhere dominant upon our planet Earth. And this quality of hers is also like the ocean, that she is like a water body enveloping us. And her quality of energy is that of all-perceiving, all-seeing. This all-seeingness is a quality that we need as a Kolam practitioner to perceive the whole pattern of all the components that make up one Kolam and prepare our inner eye before we actually come and lay down the Kolam. After which we then come and look at the earth, take a broom. This is the fiber upon which the coconut leaf grows, and it's dried, and then I use it as a broom. And I'm going to be removing obstacles, not only earth and twigs and leaves, and maybe in urban cities and areas, plastic and debris from traffic and so on, but I'm also be going to removing negative energies, things that are obstructive for the welcoming of the new day. So I'm also be removing something that is negative within myself. So this act of brooming has a very fiery component. So we have this component of the twilight zone, which is air and vision and ether and imagination, and then we have the fiery component. Normally we will be also using water, but water has been so much with us with the rains and rains and rains, so our earth is so saturated with the water element that I'm not going to be splashing water on the earth. So then I broom. So I'm brooming, and as you can see, the earth is so saturated that I will be brooming the loose sand-like surface, which creates then a beautiful canvas. Now, traditionally, we also use, in the water component of splashing the earth, we also use cow dung, but here I will not be using cow dung. The Kolam posture is also very important in the Kolam practice. So when we make the Kolam posture, we basically are connecting the mind with the heart energy. And we're bringing the heart energy on the same level as the mind. Nowadays, we're all sitting, so our mind is actually rising above the heart energy. And if we're always sitting like that, what the heart energy has the tendency to do is to drop down into these lower regions of energies. Now, when we go into the Kolam posture, the heart has the opportunity to flow into the mind and connect deeply, and then they become even on even ground, and they're fueled by each other. So the heart and mind fuel each other. That means that then what you think is then affected by the heart. So your heart is influencing your thoughts, but so also your thoughts will influence your heart. And these two are then translated through your arm like a pendulum. So your arm becomes like a pendulum. So this posture is where you can, it's almost a yogic posture. Like in yoga, you do a trikonasana, a triangle pose. Here we also squat down, bending into the hips and then going down, resting the left elbow onto the left upper thigh so that you can have the left hand supporting your bowl of rice powder. And then the right arm becomes free like a pendulum to translate that which is happening in your mind and in your heart. And as you can see, my mind and heart are now on one level. And my tailbone also goes out straight. Yeah, and I can transfer the weight, and I am above my canvas, the earth. So I am here flowing heart, mind, energy, and I can transfer, and I have an overview of what is happening. Here we have a bowl filled with rice powder that is mixed with stone powder. The rice powder is a powder that is used traditionally to making the kolam. Now we add a little bit of stone powder because the rice is no longer stone ground. It is mill ground. That makes it very fluffy and very light and doesn't weigh down enough when we want to use it to draw lines and forms and shapes on the earth. So the stone powder facilitates the weighing down of the powder. But the rice powder is important because with that we feed all the little creatures around us. In order to make the drawing, we take the pointing finger. The pointing finger is connecting us to the element of air, which is connecting us to the elements of the thinking mind and the imaginations and the images and all the collective forms and shapes that are traveling. You could almost think of our mobile phone. We use also our tactile finger of the pointing finger. We point to things with our pointing finger. We even take the pointing finger to our mind, to our head, to our forehead when we have a thought or we want to know something or we think something is stupid. Yeah? Then we have the thumb, and the thumb connects us to our willpower. It is the element of fire, and it will help and facilitate in harnessing the images that we want to capture. So when we place the thumb and the pointing finger together, we are basically saying that we are harnessing the thoughts and the images, and with that, with our will, we're steering them into the forms and shapes that then become the kolam patterns on the earth. So here we have fire, air, and earth elements. I now take some of the powder on top of my pointing finger and lay down my thumb on top of that. And with the steering willpower of my thumb, I will roll the powder, pinching it really hard, rolling it out so that it becomes a steady flow of powder. So I'm not just taking powder and then releasing it like that. I am basically really pinching it and putting pressure, applying pressure, and rolling the powder out so that it becomes a steady flow. So I roll out the powder until there's no more powder on the pointing finger. Now you can do this with 2 fingers, which then creates double lines, because then you roll out of the middle finger and the pointing finger the powder simultaneous. You can even do a whole hand, but today I'm going to only demonstrate the 2 fingers. These 2 fingers are also known as the Gyan Mudra. There where Buddha is symbolized as holding these 2 fingers because he is silencing with his will the mind. So if ever you feel restless and you have a lot of images in your mind and thoughts that you cannot control, use these 2 fingers to control your thoughts. Hold these 2 fingers together like for 15 minutes in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, before sleeping, and you will see how effective it is and how you can then silence your mind. the Kolam practice is traditionally made up of pure white lines, but now we have introduced a lot of chemical colors to enhance the Kolam and to make it vibrant and attractive, like putting on a beautiful dress. But in order to remain faithful to organic pigment colors and pure offers of giving back to the earth, we do not want to soil her with all these chemical colors. Therefore, it is very important that we use natural pigments. So one of the major natural components that is used is the turmeric powder, which is kunyit or manjal powder in Tamil. And it's made out of this root that is then ground and dried. And it has a very beautiful fragrance. It is used in cooking. It is highly antiseptic. And this is used often now in the more traditional households that are conscious of using natural pigments in their columns. And then we have Kumkumum, and Kumkumum is actually made out of the turmeric root. It is the turmeric root that has then been mixed with citric acid and then dried. This is sadly enough done chemically, but it still has the pure turmeric component in it, and also it's highly fragrant, is used a lot to bring attention to the center of a kolam. This is called a pulley. A pulley is a dot that is symbolic for all beginnings from which everything is born, but also all that returns back to its origins or implodes back into the nothingness. So this dot is very symbolic. Then I am going to add dots, and I'm going to make a measurement of 4 fingers between each of the dots. So I'm going to place one on top and one beneath. So I have 1, 2, 3 dots. And then I'm going to place in between with a 4 distance finger, 4 distance finger, 4 distance finger in between dots. So we have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots around a center 7th dot. You can see that it's almost circular, but it could also be hexagonal. Yeah, I'm showing very lightly. Now this hexagon is the base shape for Maheshwari. With that, I'm going to add more dots in between. And obviously I've been doing this quite a lot, so I kind of know 4 fingers distance between the dots kind of by heart. Now this is going to be the base kolam for Maheshwari, around which I'm going to draw lines and I'm going to loop. So each time I run out of powder, I just go back, fetch some more powder out of my bowl and continue the line, looping around the dots. Now you can see that the loops are almost like eyes looking at a center. And then I've got these free 6 replicas of dots of the inner. If I would be connecting them, I would be having a bigger hexagon around the smaller hexagon. But I'm not going to connect them straight forward. I'm going to connect them like a big wave that is moving around, going over, under, like that. And then I have the base component for a Maheshwari kolam that is made up out of hexagon shape. I'm going to enforce the hexagon with the yellow so that you can see how Maheshwari's sacred geometry is evident in this kolam. This kolam type that moves around a dot is called a Sikku kolam or a Nelli kolam. It is moving around the dots kolam. Every kolam is beautiful when it is sanctified with this red presence at the center. So again, I will fortify the lines so that you can see our Maheshwari Sikku kolam moving around. And this is only one of her millions of kolam types. Millions, and I'm talking, I have not yet exhausted the diversity of her kolams. I am yet to learn more and more of her kolams. That is how wide and all-encompassing she is. Here I lay down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 5, 3, and I do the same on the other side. So I'm now working in bilateral symmetry, and if you look at it, it's actually 4-fold symmetry, because I can make a cross between the center 7 dots and these center 7 dots and have on 4 directions of that the symmetry unfolding. This kolam is now on a grid of straight aligned dots, whilst the Maheshwari kolam was on a gridded dot alignment of in between the dots. So you can see that I can make 4 corners square appear, and then I can make a bigger square appear around that. And the base shape basically for Mahakali, because this kolam is designated to Mahakali, Kali force, which is all about power and passion and straight alignment, the vertical axis. Maheshwari was horizontal, Mahakali is vertical. She stands for the truth and will fight for the things that are just in life and help you also to remove all the obstacles that prevent you from becoming the person that you are supposed to be. She is full of passion and she is very revered here in Tamil Nadu as well as other parts in the world. Her sacred symbolism is the earth square, as she rules very dominantly in the earth square. And if you look at this, it's like building a temple almost, where you have an inner sanctuary space and then hallways, and then you've got the gateways, as if there are 4 gateways in the 4 cardinal directions of space. So this is the base layout of the grid that is going to be supporting the kolam that I'm making. Now, I'm going to start making the kolam just like Maheshwari. It is Sikku kolam, and here I'm going to start. I'm going to divide the space and make this almost eye-like shape. You can call it the mandorla, you can call it the Vesika Pisces. It's all sacred geometry, and I duplicate that and I make it to the other side. Then I'm going to make like wings appear, as if something is taking flight and it's connecting to the other side, and that in all the 4 cardinal directions of space. This then will get connected with the eye. As you can see, I'm connecting it to the corner of the eye, and I do this on 4 sides of the kolam. Yeah, so it's almost as if Kali is sticking out her tongue in all the 4 directions of space. And when she does that, it's not because she is trying to be rude to you. No, it is more that she wants you to speak the truth. Her tongue is symbolism, metaphor to speaking the truth. So now I could erase the in-between lines so that you can perceive better the real kolam that is unfolded, which is the base component kolam for Mahakali. Oh, this one is correct. The leaves are dropping. So I'm going to retrace the lines. And I'm doing them in a continuous flow, as you can see. Always coming back to the center. Now it's getting warmer, the mosquitoes are coming. And then we are back to the center. It's always tricky. And we have again this wave. Waving, holding, binding everything together. We have someone who wants to come and feed. See? Wants to come and eat. Yeah. So here with the squares that connect. Normally we don't do this, but this is to show the portals. It's like a yantra that is seating, it's holding the kolam. In the 4 cardinal directions of space. Portals going here, going there. Starting from a center, adding 1, 2, 3, a below, 2, 3, in cross, 3, other side, 3, and then I'm going to add in between diagonals. These are a little bit wide. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if you see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's in a radius 7 pulleys, 7 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see? So you get this 8 radii coming out of the center. Yeah? And here you can already see that we've got 3 circles basically. Yeah? 3 circles. So this kolam is dedicated to Mahalakshmi. And Mahalakshmi is all about balance, rhythm, harmony, beauty on all levels of consciousness. And she therefore brings also that essence of wealth. When we make a kolam in the radii like that, in that circle energy, we're now going to go making the connections. So I'm going to go the first radii, second radii, third radii. I'm going to connect from the center out to the third radii. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go around the circle like that, doing 1, 2, 3. That's the rhythm. 1, 2, 3. And again, 1, 2, 3. Again. So you can already see that we've got these beautiful spiraling arms that are spiraling outward from a center. It's like spiraling outwards. Now I'm going to do the reverse. From outside, I'm going to come back inside. So this is 1 radi, 2 radi, 3rd radi. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 down, back inside. Yeah? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we've got this beautiful, I'm going to squat now because I'm going to reinforce the lines. So you've got this beautiful outward spiraling movement. And then you've got the inward spiraling movement happening. And I'm specifically keeping the visual back inside, back inside, back inside, back inside. So this is a bit like the spiraling galaxy plan of Orville. This kolam is called the Hridaya Kamalam kolam. So Hridaya means heart, open heart. Kamalam means lotus. So this kolam is symbolic for the open heart lotus kolam. So we can show the dots. I'm doing it to the rhythm. There's a rhythm in Lakshmi. 2, 3. And obviously you can enlarge this. And I'm sure people have seen this pattern elsewhere in the world as well. Leonardo da Vinci used it to describe the Fibonacci Code that he worked with. So we can see the circles that are connecting us. Okay. The 3 circles. And then the center. Even here, this can be connected to a circle. This can also be a circle. Again, we have the 7 pulley. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's put it 1 here, 7. Yeah, a little closer. And we place them in between the dots. So they are in between 6. And we taper down 5, then 4, then 3, 2, and 1. As you can see, you can already perceive the big triangle that is created by doing this around a center dot. Yeah? 2 triangles. But we are moving again between the lines. In this time, we are moving diagonally. Going in a diagonal between the dots. And then we're going to connect again. And because Saraswati is all about the 7 rivers in India, we're going to make little fountain heads. Which they call Suri in Tamil language. This is the Saraswati yantric diagram, magical diagram. So you can see the big triangles. But also many smaller ones. Yeah? That is her energy. In that, you will see that there is this magic unfolding of the rising triangle, which is designated to Purusha, the male energy. And then we've got the descending triangle, Prakriti, which is designated to the female energy. All this is in Saraswati Kolam. But there is more. There is, when we highlight, we get this continuous beautiful connection of the Trinity forces. Yeah? So you have this Trinity energy lock. And then you've got a second one. It's full of magic. Goes through. And then you've got a third one. And the third one looks almost like the symbol of atomic energy. It looks like the atomic energy symbol. Can you perceive it? It's there. It's also a symbol that we find in the Druids' Celtic art, knots. And all this is there in the Kolam language. And then we've got the last triangle that is rising. Big one that's holding the center together. It's full of magic, this beautiful Kolam. Big triangle. And then this incredible Trinity forces that are holding the whole grid. And then at the center, this powerful 6-star which is also David's star, and in India we call it the Shat Kona. Yeah? The rising male, Purusha, Prakriti descending. All this is in the Saraswati Kolam, but also in all the other Kolams. They're all holding all these wisdoms, all these forces at play.